Valet for a day, or more like 5 minutes. This happened around 4th of July. For context here, I'm 21 and my girlfriend is 20. We met through Discord and are currently long distance. I had gone to visit her over 4th of July week in California. So my girlfriend and I had a mall date planned for that day. Nothing all that special, I know, but we don't get to see each other in person that much, so we take what we can get. Anyway, I'm sitting at the doorstep of the hotel I'm staying in, waiting for my girlfriend to come pick me up. She was still living in her mom's apartment at the time, so staying with her was a huge no-no. I'm sitting there scrolling through Reddit, when all of a sudden this older lady pulls up in her SUV, leaves it there, not in a parking spot, and goes inside, presumably to check in. I shrug it off and go back to my phone. A few minutes later, the lady walks back out and asks, "Excuse me, could you be a dear and park my car for me?" I didn't know if she thought I was a valet guy or whatever, but I was the only person there, so she couldn't have been talking to anyone else. I figured I don't have anything better to do while I wait for my girlfriend, so I say, "Sure, I can do that. Is that spot over there okay?" I point to the nearest parking spot. She hands me her keys, saying, "As long as my car is nice and parked, it's fine by me." So I get in her car and take it right to that spot without an issue. By the time I get out of the car, my girlfriend is pulled up, most likely wondering why the hell her boyfriend is getting out of someone else's car. I give my girlfriend a little wave, walk over to the lady and hand her keys back over. As I did, she handed me a $20 bill, thanking me for my help. I told her she didn't have to do that, but she insisted, saying I didn't have to park her car either, but I did so anyway. So I thank her for the money and step into my girlfriend's car. When my girlfriend asks what just happened, all I can do is look at her and say, "I'm not quite sure." I explained the whole thing to her while we were at the mall later on, and we had a good laugh about it. So yeah, not the Karen type drama people are probably used to from this sub, but I thought this wholesome little bit was worthy of being here. You're not security? I'm not security. I was shopping at a local big box sporting goods store. I was first looking in the camping section, and I noticed an average, nondescript looking guy in unremarkable clothing kinda watching me paw through camping crap. He didn't have any merchandise, or a basket or a cart. I figured he was probably store security. A bit later, I was over in the bow hunting area, trying to figure out what all the cool looking stuff is used for. The same guy was there, kind of eyeballing me, but trying to look like he wasn't. Then again, I was looking at some ammo stuff, and the same guy was there. So I walked up and down a few aisles, and the guy followed me. Now I was trying to figure out what I did that made security want to follow me. I was in business casual, I'm a clean cut kind of guy. Finally, after about 3 aisles, the guy came around the other side and kinda blocked me. He started making idle chit chat, but seemed really nervous. Then I noticed that he was looking at my right hip. I carry a concealed handgun there, tucked under my business shirt. But it's a full-size gun, so if I bend funny or reach up for something, you can see the outline of it on my shirt. It's called printing. In my state, open carry is legal, so printing is not really a legal issue. But I try not to let it happen because it does freak some people out. Usually, only another person who carries will notice it though. The guy starts to come closer to my right side where I keep the gun, so I turn away and move my store handbasket to cover the gun to prevent access. After a short do-si-do, he finally says to me, "I know you're security and I saw you following me, so I wanted to give you a taste of your own medicine." I start laughing and I say, "Oh, I thought you were security." "Nope, I'm just shopping." And the guy says, "I know you're security and I'm going to tell everyone." And I just say, "Okay." So I continue looking for a bit, but didn't end up buying anything. The guy followed me at a short distance, telling everyone within nearby earshot, "Watch out, he's security." Eventually, I dropped off my empty basket and headed for the store exit, passing through the registers. He continued to follow me, calling attention to himself by telling the front-end people that he knows I'm security. I walked out of the store. He followed me. The alarm went off, and they asked him to come back in with the unpaid merchandise he was carrying. I was parked near the front. I waited around for 10 to 15 minutes to see if he came out, but he didn't. Even in cattle country, you can't escape Karens. I work as a ranch hand on my girlfriend's family ranch out in the middle of cow country, USA. The closest town has a population of less than 300, just for scale. The ranch is one of the larger ones in the immediate area, over several thousand acres and hundreds of cows. Most graze in the pasture, but there are always some that are fed hay in the barnyard. Unfortunately, we had run out of our stockpile, so we called around to find who had hay to spare, and I was quickly dispatched to fetch it. The only place that had hay available was a family-run feed store/ranch, about halfway between us and the closest city. Even cattle country is not immune to sprawl, as farms are slowly turned into estates for bored Karens to move into with their high-priced lawyer husbands. This story involves one such Karen. This Karen is your middle-aged white woman dressed to the gills in her English riding outfit, complete with riding crop and helmet. The type of woman to make her husband move to the country so she can ride her horse easier, but then get angry that the farm next door is too loud with all the farming and such. FYI, don't make a fool of yourself in such extremely small towns. No one has anything better to do than gossip, especially during COVID. I arrived at the feed store to pick up the hay. The store had already started to stack my order, 120 bills, outside for me, as this was going to take 3 trips to complete. I paid for the whole order, and the first and second trips went without issue. I was thinking it was going to be an easy day of stacking hay and driving, and that I would be done early. If only I knew what had awaited me on my 3rd trip. I pulled my beat-up Sierra back into the feed store for the 3rd time that day. The sun hung low in the sky and beat down on my neck as I began to load my final bales. I'm sweating away the final hours of the day when a white Escalade EXT drives down the dirt driveway. For those that don't know, an Escalade EXT is Cadillac's attempt to turn an SUV into a pickup without changing any of the SUV parts. As anyone that's driven a proper utility work truck will tell you, it's useless for anything but looking fancy and bragging that you have a pickup at the country club. At first, I pay it no mind and keep loading my bales. It pulls up near my truck. After a pregnant pause, which I could only assume was to fix her hair and makeup, Karen emerges from her useless mobile and proceeds to stare at me silently. I give her a nod howdy and keep loading my bales. After each bale, she stamps her fine leather boots in the dirt louder and louder. After 5 bales, Karen had enough. "Well, aren't you going to help me? I would like to buy some hay," she basically yells at me. No, but I'm sure someone inside can. "Load 10 of these in my pickup while I go inside to pay," she said as she pointed at my yet-to-be loaded pile. I tell her no, as they're my bales, and I don't work at the feed store. "Yes you do. You're the hand that loads them. Just do your job and stop being lazy." She turns and stomps off inside, muttering about rude employees. How I was being lazy by loading my own bales, I'll never know. She re-emerges as I'm loading the final bales from my pile onto the top of my truck. Seeing the pile gone and none on her pickup, she flies into a rage. "Why didn't you load mine? All you stupid rednecks are the same and don't know how to listen." I'm a redhead and burn quite easily, so at that point in the day I did actually have a sunburn on my neck. She rushes up to me as I again tell her that I do not in fact work at the feed store. I throw the final bale onto the top of the stack on my truck. Loading complete, I brush past her and climb into my truck. She screams, "I won't let you leave until I get my hay." She runs to her still empty 2-wheel drive pickup and drives to the mouth of the driveway and parks across it, blocking the entire entrance. She smugly looks at me from the driver's seat and yells, "Now give me my hay." Now the driveway was flanked on either side by muddy ruts, filled with rain from the night before. To a Karen, it would seem impassable, but to a rancher, it's something you drive across multiple times on most days. As Karen sat smugly in the driver's seat, thinking she'd bested me, I simply reached down and threw my truck into 4-high, gunned the motor, and drove through the mud to get around her down the rest of the driveway and onto the main road. The best part was that my front tire splashed the mud high enough to cover Karen herself, as she had left her window open, and managed to get herself stuck as she tried to follow me down the drive. I'm not Jake from State Farm. When my husband and I first moved in together, we were renting a house that had been a State Farm insurance office. It was an old house that had been converted to an office, then back to a house. The landlord also ran a used car lot, and the office for it is on the back porch. Numerous times I'd be in bed asleep. I was working 3rd shift at the time, and people would just walk in wanting to talk to the insurance guy or ask about a car. It was a really small town and no one locked their doors, but after 2 or 3 of these people walking in, I started locking the screen door on the front porch and the front door itself. People still came in. One guy even said, "Hey, the doors are stuck," as he was walking in. Then he saw me and started asking about insurance. I was in my PJs watching a movie. It must have been a casual Friday, I guess. So he had to force the doors open. I've never been that greatly in need of insurance to break into a building for it.